There are a few thousand Shiva Lingams visible in the riverbed of this small mountain stream, installed by devotees 1,000 years ago. I am not sitting somewhere in the Himalayas. I am not sitting in the Vindhya nor in the eastern or western Ghats of South India. This is Phnom Kulen in Cambodia. Historians tell us that this mountain was called Mahendra Parvata in an earlier era. As centuries flow along the stream through the transcendence of time, these lingams stand testimony to the faith and civilizational values of Mother India that has spread far and wide. We embark on our pilgrimage from here. Different pilgrimage. We embark on the third and concluding leg of our pilgrimage in Cambodia. We begin our journey in Cambodia on the rocky shores of the South China Sea on the Cambodia-Vietnam border. There are a few cave temples here in a riverfront. In the caves, we find yoni pedestals of Shiva Lingams inside, while the Lingams are missing. These were created in this area when it was known as Vyadapura and the country was called Funan. Historians tell us that one Indian migrant by name Kaundinya had migrated to this area, married a princess by name Soma, and established a Hindu kingdom a century before or after Christ. We fold our hands to a brick Shiva temple built in the 5th or 6th century here, in the place now known as Angkor Vat. Within 100 yards from the brick temple, there is also a stone temple built by the Funan kings, perhaps in the 7th century. From Kaundinya 2000 years ago, we move on to King Norodom, the founder of the dynasty which rules Cambodia today. His 19th century statue is at the Royal Palace of the King of Cambodia in the capital Phnom Penh. At the palace, we meet the Rajaguru to the king.
There are sacred occasions in the palace, such as Sankaranti, which we help the king to celebrate. Annually, there is a royal ploughing ceremony when the king participates in the ploughing season. We conduct this with Hindu prayers. Our king is both keen and very knowledgeable in these things. We often merely follow his instructions about all these functions.
The main attraction for visitors to the palace is the Silver Pagoda, a temple with 7,000 kilograms of silver bricks on the floor. We bow our heads to the 90 kilograms solid gold Buddha in the sanctum, studded with over 2,000 diamonds.
The Silver Pagoda temple for the Buddha also has a kilometer-long corridor all around with paintings from the Ramayana. From Phnom Penh, we fly to Siam Reap, which is the airport nearest to the ancient Khmer capital of Angkor. For a change, we follow the trail of historic chronology in the area of Angkor and its neighborhood. In this lap, our first stop is Phnom Quilan, a mountain known in historic times as Mahendra Parvata, where I introduced this film. With a little bit of effort, we have darshan of a reclining Vishnu in the rock, underwater. And then sprinkled the holy water, which performs an abhishekam to over 1,000 lingams in the stream underwater. King Jayavarman II crowned himself Chakravarti of Cambodia, then known as Kampuchadesha or Kampuchea, named after the Indian Maharishi Kambuja. The coronation, sanctified by Hindu rites, was celebrated in the year 802. Later, Jayavarman built his capital in Hariharalaya. Jayavarman built a temple for Parameshwara in the 9th century. Like several other temples in the Angkor region, this is under renovation by the Archaeology Department of Cambodia. The Sanctum Sanctorum is empty today, and we worship the Nandi at the temple. In fact, this temple is now called Priya Ko, meaning the temple of the bulls. This ancient area of Hariharalaya is now called Rulus. We move on within the Rulus area to the temple of Indreshwara, now called Bekong, built by King Indravarman. We worship Shiva in all these temples, although the lingam is missing at the sanctum. King Yashovarman built the massive Phnom Bekeng, indeed an exhilarating sight at sunrise. With folded hands to the large lingam, we wait for the sun to come up to have a real view of the huge pyramidal temple resembling the holy Meru. Built on a hilltop itself, with no easy access today, it is a great venue for solitude and meditation. After we climb down the hill, we drive a few kilometers to Prasad Kravan, built by Harshavarman from the year 910 to 930. This is a Vishnu temple with some exquisite sculptures in the decor, such as a Mahavishnu, a Vishnu on Garuda,
Hanuman jumping over the ocean, and a unique Lakshmi Parvati as a counterpart of Harihara. We meditate again on Shiva at the Baksai Chamkron temple, meaning a bird's nest. Tradition has it that there was a solid gold Shiva icon in the sanctum here in this 10th century temple. We worship Shiva again in the East Mebon temple, built by Rajendra Varman II in the 11th century, which has withstood 11 centuries of vagaries of time without any renovation. We move into the dream world of a temple for Parasakti called Bhanti Shri. Built in the 10th century by a minister in the court of Jayavarman V, Bhanti Shri is aptly described as embroidered tapestry in stone and represents the high watermark of Angkor art. We worship the Mother Goddess here in every inch of the beauty of this masterpiece. Tradition has it that all the sculptures here were created by women out of their devotion. The outstanding temple of the 11th century is Ba Phuong, which had polished bronze covering above the domed ceiling. We can only imagine the bronze now, but we do admire the architecture and worship the spirit of the builders. And then we enter the era of Suryavarman II in the 12th century, the greatest monarch of the Khmer dynasty. We begin with a temple of modest dimensions by his standards, Tamanon, temple for Vishnu, known for its intricate sculptures. We take a leisurely pradakshina at Bhanti Samre, another Vishnu temple built by Suryavarman II in the 12th century, and learn a bit from the Sanskrit inscriptions here. One question that raises in our minds is, where are the icons of worship from the sanctums of these enormous temples? Can we find them in a museum? No. Most of them are not yet displayed in a museum. With the piety of an inquiring devotee, we ask for permission to have their darshan at the Angkor Conservancy, where visitors are not normally allowed. And behold, stunned by the collection, we bow our heads to a 6-foot Shiva Panchaka, a 5-faced Shiva. we notice that Shiva was often worshipped as a bearded rishi. They have all come out of these and other temples of the region. There are monuments like Tap Rome, where stone and wood are in a wrestling match for several centuries. Tap Rom was a Buddhist monastery. But even here, we find yoni pedestals of Shiva Lingams. And we reach the awe-inspiring site of Angkor Vat, the largest stone temple on earth for any deity. Angkor Wat was built by Suryavarman II in the 12th century as a temple for Vishnu. It is built on 500 acres of land, excluding the moat that surrounds the compound. The moat itself is as wide as 2 football fields, and we cross it on the western side to reach an entrance tower gopuram. Taken aback by the breathtaking view of the temple from the entrance passage, we walk towards the pyramidal main towers. We are so absorbed in the beauty and huge dimensions of this awe-inspiring temple that we are not immediately worried whether Divakara Pandidar, a minister of King Suryavarman II, who was the architect of this heavenly masterpiece, was a fresh migrant from the Chola kingdom or a descendant of a migrant grandfather. We enter the monument near a few Pallava-style lions. In this multi-level temple, enchanting Apsaras receive us at the entrance doorway. In this more than a kilometer-long circumambulatory passage at the first level, a portrayal of the Ramayana battlefield in bas relief awaits us. It includes Rama on the shoulders of Hanuman. On the other side of the enemy forces is Ravana with 10 heads, depicted in 3 rows, typical of Southeast Asian style. we move on to another eon to witness a stone narrative of the Mahabharata in another corridor. The Peace D resistance is, of course, the largest panel devoted to Samudra Manthan, or churning of the ocean of milk. In keeping with the reinterpretation of mythology in Cambodia, Hanuman participates in this tug of war. It is said that divine Apsaras were among the first to emerge from the churning of the ocean. We find a few hundred of these divine damsels all over Angkor Vat, as we find them here in the second level of the temple facing a courtyard. We join the devotees in worshipping the Buddha. And we also notice that on the lintel above the entrance to the mandap housing the Buddha is a S.E.Asia, a reclining Vishnu, and we fold our hands in front of him also. We have to climb further to the third level.
We are among the thousands of visitors here, most of them tourists, some of them historians and archaeologists, some of them devotees of the Buddha, a few of them devotees of Vishnu, for whom this magnificent edifice was originally built, and perhaps a few like ourselves who are pilgrims here to worship Vishnu as well as the Buddha.
As we climb the steep steps to the fourth level, we find some Apsaras facing the sanctum. The sanctum where originally Vishnu gave darshan is now empty. However, we can close our eyes and perceive the Lord in our prayer. We peep out to view the distant entrance tower. As we climb down to the first level, we mentally chant the Vedic prayers to the Lord. And behold, in a distant corridor around the temple, we have a darshan of a rare 8-armed Mahavishnu. He has been brought here from another dilapidated temple nearby. As we leave from the east side, watching the setting sun behind us, we hear the voices of the Apsaras. There is no place without the Apsaras in Cambodia. We are now in the unique temple of Bayon, built 100 years later than Angkor Vat. Bayon is an enigma with many unanswered questions. Did the Khmer kings build this as a temple for Brahma, or, as some scholars believe, for the Buddhist god Avalokiteshvara, who also has 4 faces? The 208 giant silent faces on the 54 towers do not disclose an answer. I meditate, and a voice tells me, what difference does it make? You are a pilgrim to pay obeisance to the non-dualistic absolute, the Brahman, who resides in your heart by whatever name he is called. We worship Brahma as well as Avalokiteshvara. We worship the serene Buddha in a sanctum. In another sanctum, we discover a yoni pedestal to a Shivalingam which is absent. We fold our hands in prayer. With a little more attention to detail on the wall panels, we find a Shiva and Parvati on a Nandi Vahana. We find Ravana trying to lift the Kailasa mountain with Shiva and Parvati above the mountains. Elsewhere, Manmatha is distracting Shiva from his penance. Southeast Asia's favorite Garuda is carrying Vishnu on his shoulders. Well, we have completed our pilgrimage to 5 countries: Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Cambodia, in these 3 legs of our travel.
After initial research tours and a tour for organizing the logistics, it has been over a year of pilgrimage with the film crew. Well, it has been fun and frolic, celebrations and anguish, trials and tribulations.
To mention a few things, we were caught in central Java in a devastating earthquake and were compelled to be nomads for a week. Elsewhere, between Vietnam and Cambodia, we lost all our luggage and the airlines took a few days to trace them, affecting all our schedules. We found no motorable road to locations like Angkor Vat, and we travelled long distances by boat in a river. We have in that sense sailed through storms, retracing ancient voyages. It was an exercise in diplomacy as much as in research and filmmaking. We were dealing with 2 monarchies, 2 communist nations and a democracy. We are indeed grateful to the governments of the 5 countries for their cooperation, which went beyond the call for help to a visiting film unit.
Well, looking back, the completion of this film seems like a miracle. It is a dream realized, and we are immensely glad to share the joy of this pilgrimage with you.